Hey guys, it's Melanie. Welcome to my channel. Today I have my May book haul and unhaul, so stay tuned. So I accumulated a lot of books in the month of May, either from birthday gifts or books that were kind of donated to my mom and she passed on to me, or subscription boxes. So I have 41 books to haul for you, and I have a box of 23 books to unhaul for you. So let's just get started. I'm gonna start with the books that we're hauling. So the first 4 books that I have here, these were sent to me from the lovely Nicole Bannister as birthday gifts, and I can't say thank you enough. It was so incredibly generous of her, and I love them all and I'm so excited for them. So the first one is The Thief of Cop Ramen. It's book 1 in the Fairy Tales of Folklore by Lucy Tempest. I love these covers, and it's like this all soft matte. This is like a series sort of fairy tale retellings, and this one I thought sounded really interesting because it's kind of got a little bit of Beauty and the Beast, a little bit of other fairy tales kind of mixed in, and throw in like The Selection or The Bachelor. And that's what you get with this book. This says, "You have been summoned to Sunstone Palace to compete as one of 50 in our search for the future queen of Ramen. After years on the run, Adelaide thinks her lonely and dangerous life as a thief is finally over. But her world is upended when a witch steals her away to the faraway kingdom of Ramen to perform an impossible heist. If she fails, her newfound family would be sacrificed to a beast. To complete her mission, she's forced to assume the role of a noblewoman and enter a royal competition. The prize is the hand of the elusive crown prince. Elimination means certain death. As the witch's literal deadline approaches, Adelaide makes one last desperate attempt to save the day and escape to a new life with Cyrus, the handsome and mysterious fellow thief who stole her heart. But everything falls apart when the prince finally shows himself." So excited for that. So after I read The Wives by Taryn Fisher, I went on Amazon and added all of her books to my Amazon wish list, and I found this series that she did with Colleen Hoover, and I was just like, oh my gosh, because I have enjoyed all of Colleen Hoover's books that I've read as well. So I of course had to add this, and Nicole sent me part 2 of this series, and it's called Never Never. It's a very short series, or the books are very short. Like part 2 is only 145 pages. I still need to get part 1, but this is also one of those soft matte covers. I did pull up on Goodreads here what it says about book 1, since I can't tell you what it says about this one. It says, "Charlie Winwood and Silas Nash have been best friends since they could walk. They've been in love since the age of 14, but as of this morning, they are complete strangers. Their first kiss, their first fight, the moment they fell in love, every memory has vanished. Charlie and Silas must work together to uncover the truth about what happened to them and why. But the more they learn about the couple they used to be, the more they question why they were ever together to begin with." And this says, #1 New York Times best-selling author of Hopeless joins forces with the New York Times best-selling author of Mudvayne. Together they have created a gripping romantic tale unlike any other. And yes, I am really looking forward to reading that series. Also, she sent me a book. I happened to see this, I forget where. I think I saw it on Goodreads and it sounded interesting. And also, I remember reading a lot of this author back when I was like in middle school or early high school time, and I really enjoyed her stories. And when I saw this is I think a newer book by her, and I just thought it sounded really interesting. And that is A Summer of Fear by Louise Duncan. And this says, Accidents happen, she makes sure of it. From the moment Rachel's family takes in her orphan cousin Julia, strange things start to happen. Rachel grows suspicious, but soon finds herself alienated from her own life. Julia seems to have enchanted everyone to turn against her, leaving Rachel on her own to discover the truth. A wax figure and a photograph are all the evidence Rachel has, but she soon suspects that Julia is a witch. But how can she prove it when she has more questions than answers? One thing about Julia is certain. She is not who she says she is, and Rachel's family is in grave danger. And it says, leave the lights on. These new editions feature modernized text and a Q&A with Louise Duncan. So I guess it's like a reboot of this book. But I do remember one of the things that kind of drew my attention to the book was the cover, because this cover reminded me of another book that is like one of my favorite books, and that's Death Prefers Blondes by Caleb Roehrig. And it's because it has like the wig on the cover. And speaking of Caleb Roehrig, Nicole also got me White Rabbit by Caleb Roehrig, which I am so excited for. Like I said, I love his Death Prefers Blondes book, and I'm really excited to read more by him. This says, Rufus Holt is having the worst night of his life. It begins with the reappearance of his ex-boyfriend, Sebastian, the guy who stomped his heart out like a spent cigarette. Just as Rufus is getting ready to move on, Sebastian turns up out of the blue, saying they need to talk. Things couldn't get worse, right? But then Rufus answers a call from his sister, April, begging for help. And then he and Sebastian find her drenched in blood and holding a knife beside the dead body of her boyfriend, Fox Whitney. April swears she didn't kill Fox, but Rufus knows her too well to believe she's telling him the whole truth. April has something he needs, though, and her price is his help. Now, with no one to trust but the boy he wants to hate, yet can't stop loving, Rufus has one night to prove his sister's innocence, or die trying. And I'm really excited to read these books. I'm excited to read all 4 of them. And again, thank you so much, Nicole. Okay, next up, these 2 books came from a subscription box. They came from, I had some boxes that were still owed me from Totally Book Crate, and she just got around to sending those out. So she sent me House of Salt and Sorrow by Aaron A. Craig. It just so happens I actually already have this. It came in one of my Owl Crate boxes, and I like the Owl Crate cover better, plus that one's signed. So this will actually be, I should have put it in the Unhaul stuff. This is going to be an Unhaul book, so that's going to go away. I'm just going to go ahead and add that there. Won't go into it. But she also sent me Kingdom of Souls by Rena Barron. And this says, born to a family of powerful witch doctors, Ara yearns for magic of her own, but she fails to read the bones, fails to see the future, and fails to call upon the ancestors. With each passing year, her ambitious mother looks upon her with ever-growing disapproval. There's only one thing Ara hasn't tried. Charlatans in the market trade years of their own lives for a taste of magic, without knowing how many each ritual will take. That is a sacrifice Ara would never risk, until the kingdom's children begin to vanish. When Ara trades her years for the magic to catch the child snatcher, what she uncovers is even more horrifying. The demon king, who the ancient gods imprisoned centuries ago, is stirring. If he awakens, his hunger for souls will bring Ara's world to its knees, unless she pays the price for the magic to save it. And this also has some gold sprayed edges. They're not really gilded because it's almost a matte color. And I think she actually may have done these herself, just because I can see the bleed through on some of the pages. But it's funny because I know that because I've tried to do it myself, and it's hard to avoid doing that. Okay, then I have books that I got from Unplugged Book Box. So these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 books came from Unplugged Book Box. So the first one I have here, and I can't recall which ones are from the young adult and which ones are from the adult, at least until I read what it says. The first one is Weave the Lightning by Corey L. Lee. This says, Empire, Revolution, Magic. Garrett is the son of Borshkanya's supreme general. Despite his powerful storm affinity and the state's best training, he can't control his magic. To escape the brutal consequences, he flees. Selka is a traveling circus performer, hiding both her link to the underground and her storm affinity from the prying eyes of the secret police. But Garrett's arrival threatens to expose everything: her magic, her family, and the people they protect. The storms have returned, and everything will change. And on the back here, there's an Admit One Slavini circus ticket. I thought that was cute. Next, we have The Borgia Confessions by Alyssa Palumbo. And this says, Alyssa Palumbo returns to Renaissance Italy with a seductive novel of the ruthless ambitions and decadent desires found in the heart of one of history's most notorious noble families, the Borgias. Rome, 1492. Rodrigo Borgia has ascended to the papacy. As Pope Alexander VI, he is in a position to serve himself and establish his dynasty by using not only those desperate to curry his holy favor, but his very children. Cesar Borgia is the Pope's eldest son. He believed his destiny was to command grand armies. Instead, he must wear the religious robes of the Catholic Church at his father's command. Cesar's resentment never fully fades, even as he learns how to wield a different kind of power at the Pope's side. Maddalena Moretti is a servant in the Vatican who finds her faith tested in the presence of the handsome Cardinal Cesar Borgia. She discovers that men of the cloth forsake their vows to satiate their lustful passions as much as any man, and she gives in to her own temptations by becoming Cesar's lover. But the House of Borgia is under siege. European monarchs, Italian royalty, and religious zealots threaten their authority, while jealousies and betrayals arise within the family ranks. Privy to the Borgia's sinful secrets, Maddalena must decide whether to become a pawn in the power games of the man she loves, or to save her own soul. And if Cesar is going to be the master of his own fate, he will have to sacrifice the truest, purest love he's ever known. Then we have, this is probably the one I'm most excited for, The Midnight Lie by Marie Rutowski. And this says, where Niram lives, crime abounds, a harsh tribunal rules, and society's pleasures are reserved for the high kith. Life in the ward is grim and punishing. People of her low status are forbidden from sampling sweets or wearing colors. You either follow the rules or pay a tithe and suffer the consequences. Niram keeps her head down and a dangerous secret close to her chest. But then she encounters Sid, a rakish traveler from far away who whispers rumors that the High Kith possesses magic. Sid tempts Niram to seek that magic for herself, but to do that, Niram must surrender her old life. She must place her trust in this sly stranger who asks above all not to be trusted. Set in the world of the New York Times best-selling Winners trilogy, this epic LGBTQ romantic fantasy is about learning to free ourselves from the lies others tell us and the lies we tell ourselves. So I guess since it's set in the world of the Winners trilogy, that trilogy should probably be read before this one. Don't know though. Next up is The Edge of Everything by Nora Shalloway Carpenter. And this says, Lynn is a loner teen photographer haunted by a past that stagnated her work and left her terrified she's losing her mind. Sage is a high school volleyball star desperate to find a way around her sudden medical disqualification. Both girls need college scholarships. After a chance encounter, the two develop an unlikely friendship that enables them to begin facing their inner demons. But both Lynn and Sage are keeping secrets that, left hidden, could cost them everything, maybe even their lives. Set in the mountainous outskirts of Asheville, North Carolina, this gorgeous #OwnVoices novel explores grief, mental health, and how the transformative power of friendship can help us find ourselves and the goodness in life, even when everything feels broken. Next we have, oh, and this is one that I actually already have an arc of. So I'll probably get rid of the arc at some point. I have to like dig it out, but I'll keep this one. That is The Book of Second Chances by Catherine Slee. Its pages will lead to a world of possibilities. And I love a bookish book, and that's exactly what this is. This says, 10 days, 3 countries, 1 chance to spread her wings and fly. Emily can't remember the last time she left her neighborhood or spoke to anyone besides her grandmother, beloved children's book author Katerina Robinson. After Katerina's death, Emily is at a complete loss until she gets a posthumous letter that will completely change her life. Katerina has revealed that there might be one last lost, unpublished manuscript in her wildly popular series. Armed with her grandmother's secret diary and a trail of cryptic book dedications, Emily travels from London to Paris to Verona, retracing her grandmother's past and discovering more about her family and her own strength than she ever imagined possible. And I'm really, really excited for this book. This makes me think of the granddaughter of like J.K. Rowling or something, and there's like an extra Harry Potter book that's never been published. That's kind of what I get from this, and I'm excited to read this. Next we have Elysium Girls by Kate Pentecost, and this looks really interesting. Elysium, Oklahoma is a town like any other, respectable, God-fearing, praying for an end to the drought and the dust storms, until the day the dust soldiers arrive, until the people of Elysium learn it's all a lie. You see, there isn't only one God, there are 2 sisters, life and death, and the sisters like to gamble against each other with things like time and space and human lives. Elysium is to become the playboard in a ruthless game between the goddesses. The dust soldiers will return in 10 years' time, and if the people of Elysium have not proved themselves worthy, all will be slain. Nearly 10 years later, 17-year-old Sal Wilkerson is called upon to lead Elysium as it prepares for the end of the game. But when an outsider named Asa arrives at Elysium's gate with nothing more than a sharp smile and a bag of magic tricks, the frightened townspeople flock to his side. Sal tries to prove himself the best witch to lead Elysium, only to trigger a terrible accident that gets both her and Asa exiled into the brutal desert of dust and steel. There, Sal and Asa stumble upon a gang of girls headed by another Elysium exile. As the apocalypse looms, 7 girls and 1 demon will use their gifts to create a cavalry of magic-powered scrap metal horses to ride to Elysium's aid. But they must do more than simply tip the scales in Elysium's favor. Only by reinventing the rules can they beat life and death at their own game. Okay, so the rest of the books here are books that somebody gave my mom, and then my mom passed on to me. This first book here is probably the oldest of them, and I'm keeping it just because I think it's cool. I don't know that I would actually use it, but I mean, it's a cool book. And that is America's Favorite Recipes, Sweet Favorites Edition, including party beverages. This is an old cookbook, and I just kind of love it for that reason. I mean, and look at like the little art inside. I mean, okay, I kind of love it for that, just that. Okay, next up we have Lost and Found Sisters by Jill Shalvis. This says, they say life can change in an instant. After losing her sister in a devastating car accident, sous chef Quinn Weller is finally getting her life back on track. She appears to have it all: a loving family, a dream job in one of LA's hottest eateries, and a gorgeous boyfriend dying to slip an engagement ring on her finger. So why does she feel so empty, like she's looking for a missing piece she can't find? The answer comes when a lawyer tracks down Quinn and reveals a bombshell secret and a mysterious inheritance that only she can claim. This shocking revelation washes over Quinn like a tidal wave. Her whole life has been a lie. On impulse, Quinn abandons her job, home, and boyfriend. She heads up the coast to the small town of Wildstone, California, just a few hours north of Los Angeles, but worlds apart. Though she doesn't exactly fit in right away, she can't help but be drawn to the town's simple pleasures and the handsome, dark-haired stranger who offers friendship with no questions asked. As Quinn settles into Wildstone, she discovers the inheritance isn't a house or money, but rather something earth-shattering, something that will make her question everything she thought she knew about herself, about her family. Now, with a world of possibilities opening up to her, Quinn must decide if this new life is the one she was always meant to have. Okay, next we have Summerland by Ellen Hildebrand. This says, a perfect summer night, a deadly crash, and 4 lives are changed forever. A warm June evening, a local tradition, the students of Nantucket High have gathered for a bonfire on the beach. What begins as a graduation night celebration ends in tragedy after a horrible car crash leaves the driver, Penny Alistair, dead, and her twin brother in a coma. The other passengers, Penny's boyfriend, Jake, and her friend Demeter, are physically unhurt, but the emotional damage is overwhelming. Questions linger about what happened before Penny took the wheel. As summer unfolds, startling truths are revealed about the survivors and their parents. Secrets kept, promises broken, hearts betrayed. Ellen Hildebrand explores the power of community, family, and honesty, and proves that even from the ashes of sorrow, new love can take flight. Then we have 3 Wishes by Leanne Moriarty. And this says, Lynn, Kat, and Gemma Kettle, beautiful 33-year-old triplets, seem to attract attention everywhere they go. Together, laughter, drama, and mayhem seem to follow them, but apart, each is dealing with her own share of ups and downs. Lynn has organized her life into one big checklist. Kat has just learned a startling secret about her marriage, and Gemma, who bolts every time a relationship hits the 6-month mark, holds out for hope for lasting love. In this wise, witty, and hilarious novel, we follow the Kettle sisters through their tumultuous 33rd year as they deal with sibling rivalry and secrets, revelations and relationships, unfaithful husbands and unthinkable decisions, and the fabulous, frustrating life of forever being a part of a trio. Next up is The Last Anniversary by Leanne Moriarty. And this says, Sophie Honeywell always wondered if Thomas Gordon was the one who got away. He was the perfect boyfriend. But on the day he was going to propose, she broke his heart. A year later, he married his travel agent, while Sophie has been mortifyingly single ever since. Now, Thomas is back in her life because Sophie has unexpectedly inherited his Aunt Connie's house in Scribbly Gum Island, home of the famously unsolved Monroe baby mystery. Sophie moves onto the island and begins a new life as part of an unconventional family, where it seems everyone has a secret. Grace, a beautiful young mother, is feverishly planning a shocking escape from her perfect life. Margie, a frumpy housewife, has made a pact with a stranger, while dreamy Aunt Rose wonders if maybe it's about time she started making her own decisions. As Sophie's life becomes increasingly complicated, she discovers that sometimes you have to stop waiting around and come up with your own fairy tale ending. Leanne Moriarty once again combines sharp wit, lovable and eccentric characters, and a page-turning story for an unforgettable last anniversary. Next up we have The Lemon Sisters by Jill Shalvis. And this says, Brooke Lemon has always led the life she wanted, wild adventures and mistakes included, something her perfect sister Mindy never understood. So when Mindy shows up on Brooke's doorstep in the throes of a breakdown with her 3 little kids in tow, Brooke's shocked. Wanting to make amends, Brooke agrees to trade places, taking the kids back to Wildstone for a few days so Mindy can pick up the pieces and put herself back together. What Brooke doesn't admit is she's just as broken. Also, how does one go home after 7 years away? It doesn't take long for Brooke to come face to face with her past, in the form of one tall, dark, sexy mistake. But Garrick's no longer interested. Only his words don't match his actions, leaving Brooke feeling things she'd shoved deep. Soon the sisters begin to wonder, are they lemons in life, in love? All they know is that neither seems to be able to run far enough to outpace her demons. And when secrets surface, they have to learn that sometimes the one person who can help you the most is the one you never thought to ask. Okay, next up is Clock Dance by Ann Tyler. And this says, Willa Drake has had 3 opportunities to start her life over. In 1967, as a schoolgirl whose mother has suddenly disappeared. In 1977, when considering a marriage proposal. And in 1997, as a young widow trying to hold her family together. So she is surprised in 2017 when, after receiving a startling phone call from a stranger, she is given one last chance to change everything. Without fully understanding why, she flies across the country to Baltimore to help a young woman she's never met. This impulsive decision, maybe the first one she's consciously made in her life, will lead Willa into uncharted territory, surrounded by eccentric neighbors who treat one another like family. She finds solstice and fulfillment in unexpected places. A bewitching novel of hope and transformation, Clock Dance gives us Ann Tyler at the height of her powers. And this is also a relatively short book. Looks like it's 292 pages. Next up is Henry's Sisters by Kathy Lamb. This is a thick one too, but it's like mass market. This says, ever since the Marito sisters were little girls, their mother River has written them a letter on pink paper when she has something especially important to impart. And this time the message is urgent and impossible to ignore. River requires open heart surgery, and Isabel and her sisters are needed at home to run the family bakery and take care of their brother and ailing grandmother. Isabel has worked hard to leave Trillium River, Oregon behind as she travels the globe taking award-winning photographs. It's not that Isabel hates her family. On the contrary, she and her sisters, Cecilia, an outspoken kindergarten teacher, and Janie, a best-selling author, share a deep, loving bond. And all of them adore their brother, Henry, whose disabilities haven't stopped him from helping out at the bakery and bringing good cheer to everyone in town. But going home again has a way of forcing open the secrets and hurts that the Bomaritos would rather keep tightly closed. Working together to look after Henry and save their flagging bakery, Isabel and her sisters begin to find answers to questions they never knew existed, unexpected ways to salve the wounds of their childhoods, and the courage to grasp surprising new chances at happiness. Then we have The Book Club by Mary Alice Monroe. And this says, Mary Alice Monroe invites you to meet 5 remarkable characters as she explores the power of friendship with tenderness, honesty, and understanding. On the surface, it's a monthly book club, but for 5 women, it is so much more. For Eve Porter, whose husband's sudden death cheats her of every security she had planned on, the club is a place of sanctuary. For Annie Blake, a brilliant attorney intent on starting a family late in life, it is a chance to finally let down her guard and dream of other possibilities. For Doris Bridges, it is her support group as she acknowledges her dying marriage and finds the ultimate freedom in her husband's betrayal. For Gabriela Riviera, the perfect wife, mother and friend who offers support to everyone but is afraid to ask for it herself, it is a sense of community. And for Midge Kirsch, an artist who has always lived her life against the grain, it is a haven of acceptance. There are 5 women from different walks of life embracing the challenge of change, and as they share their hopes and fears and triumphs, they will hold fast to the true magic of the book club, friendship. Love a bookish book, so I'm like excited to see like what books they're gonna read in their book club too, as it kind of interweaves with their lives. Next up we have The Sea Sprite In by Lynette Adair. And this says, where new stories check in every week. Jillian has lived through more than her share of tough times, but leaps at a chance to reinvent herself when she inherits the responsibility for a debilitated family beach house. Now, along with fluffy bath towels and restaurant recommendations, she offers advice, insights, and encouragement, with a side dish of humor as owner of the Sea Sprite Inn. As the guests come and go, each with unique challenges and discoveries, Jillian learns to trust her instincts and find a clear path to her future. Without an end, there can be no beginning. Next, okay, so there were a lot of different diet books and stuff like that in the things that were given to me. And I think this is the only one that I decided to keep. That is Mayo Clinic Healthy Weight Plan. It says complete with nutrition and exercise tips, slim down menus, and recipes. And I just thought it's more like a workbook than anything, and I just thought I might actually use this. And there are, like it said, meal plans and such. I thought I would try this out. And it's nice and thin. It's only like 94 pages. It says, this user-friendly book includes a practical plan for losing weight safely and keeping it off permanently. It helps you determine if you need to lose weight, outlines an approach that improves your chance of success, and includes a specific healthful eating plan based on your current weight. Also includes 36 sample menus and guides for creating your own eating and exercise plan. Most of the other ones were, I don't know, too gimmicky, or I was only interested in it for the recipes, but then I like when my recipes break down the nutritional information, and those did not, so nah. Alright, next up we have Between Sisters by Kristen Hanna. And this says, years ago, Megan Dantas made a terrible choice that cost her everything, including the love of her sister Claire. Now Megan is a highly successful attorney who doesn't believe in intimacy, until she meets the one man who can change her mind. Claire Kavanaugh has fallen in love for the first time in her life. As her wedding day approaches, she prepares to face her strong-willed older sister. Reunited after more than 2 decades, these two women who believe they have nothing in common will try to become what they never were, a family. Tender, funny, bittersweet, and moving, Between Sisters skillfully explores the profound joys and sorrows shared by sisters, the mistakes made in the name of love, and the promise of redemption, all beautifully told by acclaimed author Kristen Hanna. Then we have A Million Little Things by Susan Mallory. And it was funny, when I was going through them originally, somebody had written in the book, very good. This says, from the best-selling author of The Girls of Mischief Bay and The Friends We Keep comes a twisty tale of family dynamics that explores what can go terribly, hysterically wrong when the line between friendship and family blurs. Zoe Salvador is more than just single, she's alone. She recently broke up with her longtime boyfriend. She works from home, and her best friend Jen is so obsessed with her baby that she has practically abandoned their friendship. The day Zoe accidentally traps herself in her attic with her hungry-looking cat, she realizes that it's up to her to stop living in isolation. Her seemingly empty life takes a sudden turn for the complicated. Her first new friend is Jen's widowed mom, Pam. The only guy to give her butterflies in a very long time is Jen's brother. And meanwhile, Pam is being very deliberately seduced by Zoe's own smooth as tequila father. Pam's flustered, Jen's annoyed, and Zoe is beginning to think alone doesn't sound so bad after all. And this just sounds hilarious. Next up we have To Have and to Hold by Jane Green. And this says, Alice knows she should be happy. A charming 28-year-old with a successful catering business, she's always dreamed of a rose-covered cottage in the English countryside, filled with children and animals and home-cooked meals. Her favorite attire is comfy jeans. Her best manicure features garden dirt under the nails. But when her teenage crush, the wealthy, dashing man about town, Joe Chambers, wants to make her his bride, Alice is more than willing to play Cinderella to Joe's prince. Never mind that he wants her to change. A diet, ice blonde highlights, stilettos, snooty gallery openings, and that he's allergic to nature and kids. She tells herself she's happy to sacrifice for love, and besides, with Joe's stunning good looks and a high-profile career, every woman in London wants to be in her shoes. But that's just the problem. And despite Alice's efforts to be the perfect wife, Joe soon reveals a penchant for being hopelessly unfaithful. When a notorious indiscretion with a female colleague forces Joe to transfer to New York, Alice's life turns upside down, and she must decide how much Cinderella she can take, and whether she's ready to find real happiness on her own. Delicious, witty, and packed with sparkling sex appeal, This latest tale from the beloved Jane Green proves that the search for true love doesn't always end when someone dons a veil, and offers a lively, refreshing look at romantic relationships after we say, I do. And I also think this is going to be fun as well. Next up, we have The Pilot's Wife by Anita Shreve. This says, a pilot's wife is taught to be prepared for the late night knock at the door. But when Catherine Lyons receives word that a plane flown by her husband Jack has exploded near the coast of Ireland, she confronts the unfathomable, one startling revelation at a time. Soon drawn into a maelstrom of publicity fueled by rumors that Jack led a secret life, Catherine sets out to learn who her husband really was, whatever that knowledge might cost. Her search propels this taut, impassioned novel as it movingly explores the question, how well can we ever really know another person? Next up we have On Second Thought by Kristen Higgins. This is also a thick one. I think it's, I was going to say I thought it was over 500 pages, but it's 470 pages. This says, from the New York Times bestselling author of If You Only Knew comes an irresistible look at the affection and acrimony that binds families together. Ansley O'Leary is so ready to get married. She's even found the engagement ring her boyfriend has stashed away. What she doesn't anticipate is being blindsided by a breakup he chronicles in a blog, which, of course, goes viral. Devastated and humiliated, Ansley turns to her older half-sister Kate, who's struggling with the sudden loss of her arm. Kate's always been the poised, self-assured sister, but becoming a newlywed and a widow in the space of 4 months overwhelms her. Though the sisters were never close, she starts to confide in Ansley, especially when she learns her late husband was keeping a secret from her. Despite the murky blended family dynamic that's always separated them, Ansley's and Kate's heartaches bind their summer together when they come to terms with the inevitable imperfection of relationships and family, and possibility of one day finding love again. Next we have Summer Island by Kristen Hanna. This says, years ago, Nora Bridge walked out on her marriage, leaving her daughters behind. Now she is a celebrity talk show host, famous for her stern moral advice. Her daughter Ruby is a struggling comedian. The two haven't spoken in more than a decade. Then a scandal from Nora's past is exposed, and Ruby is offered a fortune to write a tell-all about her mother. Reluctantly, she returns to the family house on Summer Island, a home filled with frayed memories of joy and heartache. Confronting a past that includes a never-forgotten love, a sick best friend, and a mother who has harbored terrible family secrets, Ruby finally begins to understand the complex ties that bind a mother and a daughter, and the healing that comes with forgiveness. Okay, so these last three actually have 4 books in each one. So I can tell you about each of the books. So this one, these are Reader's Digest Select Editions. So here's this one. It has Forever Friday by Timothy Lewis, The Rosie Project by Graham Simison, Deadline by Sandra Brown, and The Melody of Secrets by Jeffrey Stepikoff. So Forever Friday says, after a nasty divorce, Adam Colby has given up on love, but when he discovers an old photo album at an estate sale, he has second thoughts. Filled with 60 years worth of romantic postcards, the album chronicles an extraordinary love story. What can a heartbroken young man learn from an elderly couple he's never met? Adam is about to find out, a tender tale that celebrates the power of love and marriage. The Rosie Project. Meet Don Tillman, a brilliant yet socially challenged Australian professor of genetics who's decided that it's time to find a wife. In this orderly scientific way, he creates the Wife Project, an exhaustive questionnaire designed to filter out all the wrong women. But then Don meets Rosie Jarman, the wrong woman in every possible way. Could it be that the scientific approach is not the best path to romance? Then we have Deadline by Sandra Brown. From a mega best-selling author, Sandra Brown, comes a new heart-pounding thriller about a journalist hot on the trail of 2 domestic terrorists. Ace reporter Dawson Scott, still emotionally fragile from a recent stint in Afghanistan, pursues this new story with a reckless vengeance. Along the way, he encounters something wholly unexpected and truly terrifying, the possibility of love with a beautiful woman. Then The Melody of Secrets by Jeffrey Stepikoff. A young German woman must make impossible decisions. There is the roguish American fighter pilot seeking refuge in her cottage in the waning days of World War II. There is the brilliant scientist who has always loved her, and there are the buried secrets discovered years later that threaten to undermine everything. A sweeping saga of redemption, transcendent love, and the power of forgiveness. Then we have this one, which has The Wanted by Robert Crais, Rise and Shine Benedict Stone by Phaedra Patrick, The Vanishing Season by Joanna Schaffhausen, and Talk to the Paw by Melinda Metz. The Wanted by Robert Crais. When single mother Devin Connor hires Detective Elvis Cole, it's because her troubled teenage son Tyson is flashing cash. She fears he's into drugs, but the truth is even more devastating. Tyson is in way over his head, and suddenly things take a deadly turn. Elvis and his trusty partner, Joe Pike, are drawn into the most perilous case of their careers, facing the cleverest villains, an electrifying mystery by one of today's top crime writers. Rise and Shine Benedict Stone by Phaedra Patrick. In the quiet English village of Noon Sun lives complacent and predictable Benedict Stone. Business at his jewelry shop has dried up and his marriage is on the rocks. His life is in desperate need of a jumpstart. Then a surprise arrives at his door. Gemma, his audacious teenage niece from America, the daughter of his estranged brother. Gemma invites herself into Benedict's orderly world and turns everything topsy-turvy. A colorful and irresistible charmer of a novel. The Vanishing Season by Joanna Schaffhausen. Ellery Hathaway knows a thing or two about serial killers. As a girl, she was rescued from just such a fiend. Now a police officer in a sleepy New England town, Ellery suspects that another killer is on the loose, but no one believes her. What little evidence she has is elusive at best, yet she knows without a doubt that the killer is about to claim a new victim. Can anything be done to prevent another tragedy? Talk to the Paw by Melinda Metz. There is a cat burglar prowling around the neighborhood. He sneaks in, steals the oddest items, and then deposits them in the oddest places. Oddest of all, this particular cat burglar is, in fact, a cat. He's a tabby named MacGyver, and there's a method to his larceny. When he sees that people ought to be together, he goes into action, and when those people don't recognize the obvious, he goes into action again, and again, and again. That one in particular sounds super cute, and I'm really excited to read it. Next we have this one, which has The Bad Daughter by Joy Fielding, The Recipe Box by Viola Shipman, The First Family by Michael Palmer and Daniel Palmer, and colored by David Rosenfeld. Alright, so The Bad Daughter by Joy Fielding. It was never the perfect family, the eternally bitter sister, the philandering father, the so-called best friend turned stepmother. Robin was happy to leave them all behind and build a new life for herself. But in what appears to be a robbery gone wrong, her father, his second wife, and his 12-year-old stepdaughter have been shot. Robin returns home to find that the past is far from over and there may be even graver danger to come. The Recipe Box by Viola Shipman. Sam Nelson left northern Michigan and the family orchard to pursue her dream of becoming a big-time pastry chef in New York City. But her job as an overworked, undervalued sous chef to a tyrannical reality TV star was not what she imagined. And she returns home to take inventory. One beloved family recipe at a time, Sam eventually learns what matters the most in her life. A sweetly delicious story that celebrates family, food, and friendship. The First Family by Michael Palmer and Daniel Palmer. When Cam Hilliard, the president's son, uncharacteristically loses his cool and his edge as a young chess champion, there are those who want to blame his youth. It isn't easy to be a teenager in the White House. but Cam is sick, and as his illness worsens, the diagnosis becomes more difficult. The specter arises. Is someone trying to kill the president's son? Authentic, high-velocity medical suspense. Collared by David Rosenfeld. Lawyer Andy Carpenter, with his trademark humor and passion for dogs, is back in this entertaining mystery. Almost 3 years ago, a baby was kidnapped along with the family dog. Neither has been seen since. That is, until the day the missing border collie appears tied to the door of an animal shelter. Where has the pooch been? More importantly, where is the baby? Could he still be alive? Andy and crew, both canine and human, endeavor to find out. Okay, so those are all of the ones that I'm hauling. Now, for this, I thought it was going to be 23, but 24 books that I'm unhauling. So, the first one I've already shown is House of Salt and Sorrows by Aaron A. Craig. And I'm literally just unhauling this because I have another copy. Okay, for the rest of the books in this box, these are some of the books that my mom gave me from somebody else. So like the diet books, I'm just not interested in them. And yeah, we'll go through and I'll tell you. So first diet book is Dr. Atkins' New Diet Revolution. I'm just not interested. Then we've got Permanent Results Without Permanent Dieting, the Curves Weight Loss Method. It's some kind of, this is a guide, and then there is another one that's like the workbook that goes along with it. Not interested. Sugar Bust for Life, Cookbook and Companion Guide by the Famous Family of Good Food. This does have lots of recipes in it, but it doesn't break down the nutritional information, so I'm really not all that interested. Okay, next up we have Saving Sarah and Savannah Grace by H.A. Olson. These are books, I think it's 2 and 3 in a series, and they didn't send along book 1. And when I looked it up on Goodreads, I wasn't interested enough to go out and purchase the first book, so I'm going to go ahead and get rid of those. Then we have The World's Best Kept Diet Secrets by Diane Irons. This one's a cookbook, but again, it doesn't have the nutritional information, and Marty doesn't like a whole lot of seafood, so I wasn't really concerned with keeping this. Clam Bakes and Fish Fries. 2 other like homemade type cookbooks. We have Favorite Recipes Straight from the Heart and War and Peas. Then we have the Florabama Ladies Auxiliary and Sewing Circle by Louise Battle. And this wasn't part of a series or anything, I don't think, but it's about really just the sewing circle in the Old South. I don't know. It didn't sound like something I would be interested in, so just gonna get rid of that. There's 2 more of those Reader Digest Select Editions, but I wasn't super interested in any of the books that came up. So the first one had The Wrong Side of Goodbye by Michael Connolly, Miramar Bay by Davis Bunn, Triple Crown by Felix Francis, and The Mistletoe Secret by Richard Paul Evans. And then this one has Personal by Lee Child, If You Knew Me When by Emily Liebert, The Monogram Murders by Sophie Hannah, and Stargazing by Lydia Gillard. Next up we have To the Nines by Janet Evanich. And I can't remember if this was part of a series or if it was just something that didn't interest me. I think it had something to do with like a bounty hunter woman or something. I don't know. It just wasn't something I was interested in. Next up is Plantation by Dorothea Benton Frank. This is a second book in a series, and again, I wasn't interested enough to go out and get the first book, so I'm getting rid of that. I ended up getting sent 2 copies of Between Sisters, so I'm going to get rid of the second copy. Then there's A Trip to the Beach, Living on Island Time in the Caribbean by Melinda Blanchard and Robert Blanchard. And I believe this is a nonfiction that they wrote about their life, you know, moving to this island and stuff. And I don't know, it just didn't sound interesting to me, so get rid of that. Next up is The Next Best Thing by Jennifer Weiner. I don't know. This was one that it just didn't really sound that interesting to me. It's like a Hollywood roller coaster kind of thing. I don't know. It just didn't sound interesting. Then we have another that's part of a series that I didn't get the first book, and again didn't seem interested enough. We have Return to the Beach House and The Beach House Coming Home by Georgia Bakoven. Sugar Busters, Cut Sugar to Trim Fat. I think this one was mostly a lot of it's just talking about how sugar affects you and things like that. And there wasn't as many recipes as I would have liked. But again, I don't think the recipes had the nutritional information. Then Sunshine Beach by Wendy Wax. This is the 4th book in a series, so getting rid of that. And then last but not least, Weight Watchers International Cookbook. This is one from 1977. And also, there's no nutritional information for this, so I have no need for that. So those are all of the books that I'm planning on unhauling this month. And I'm happy to have books exiting out as well into the world, because somebody else will find use in these. So have you read any of these books, whether they're ones that I'm hauling or ones that I'm unhauling? Did you like them? Did you not? Comment down below and let me know. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, give me a big thumbs up. If you'd like to see more videos like this, click that subscribe button down below. And until next time, remember to always be completely you. Bye!